Ladies and gentlemen, it has been quite the journey. 10 years ago, Barack Obama, president at the time, responded to criticism from businessman and TV personality Donald Trump by joking that he could at least call himself something that Trump never could, President of the United States.
At least I will go down as a president.
The crowd laughed, but Donald Trump took that personally. Observing the porous borders, the poor economy, the rise of wokeism in its infant stages, Trump knew what he had to do. The first thing he did was take a spade and go off into the middle of Virginia to the woods and began to dig in a search for the legendary artifact. Soon he found it, caked in soil, but still very much alive. Some say it belonged to Washington himself, a red cap. And on its crown, those famous words, "Make America Great Again."
God bless you and good night. I love you.
Fueled by its magical powers, he ran for nomination and he won. He won not only the nomination, he won the presidency. He was, it seemed, victorious, but little did he or we know that this was merely a battle and the war was only getting started. Even he would admit that he was not fully prepared for the battles that would face him. With appointments like John Bolton, John Kelly and other whack jobs, yes, sure, the economy did great, but he was foiled at almost every turn in his attempts to rebuild the nation's defences and to recover lost ground at the state and local levels. Then, COVID, BLM, Anthony Fauci, election integrity, and in November of 2020, Joseph Robinette Biden was dragged out from a basement somewhere and the Democrats got 20 million totally legitimate extra votes more than they ever had done in history. Trump left the White House. Was this his end? Did the great MAGA dream lay in tatters, perhaps never to rise again from the ruins? Meanwhile, the people of the land strained under the weight of the Biden administration. A health secretary who thinks he's a she. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, who does not know what a woman is despite being one. Inflation through the roof, 25 million illegals, crime up, job growth non-existent, Supreme Court stacking on the menu if they won again. No future election would be secure. Then there were the indictments, false charges. Steve Bannon, truly Sauron, seemed to be assembling an army to finish off this movement once and for all. But then something happened that, if there is a ring of power, it did not expect. Joe Biden surprisingly experienced some very mild and very hard to notice mental decline. He talked to people who had been dead for years, fell off his bike, got lost every time he tried to leave a stage. And Donald Trump, incensed by the injustices done to him, stepped onto the debate stage. Joe Biden proudly declared that he beat Medicare. Yeah, you did. You beat it to death. And Biden was beaten. Enter Vice President Kamala Harris, a woman of really no discernible talent, intellect, and a grating laugh, but with an ability to climb to the top by whatever means possible. Despite having a track record of 4 years of woeful leadership, she took on a campaign of joy, brat and vibes. No one else knows what that means either. Her VP pick was a man chosen for his enthusiastic clap. Meanwhile, Trump had been accused of holding Nazi rallies at Madison Square Garden. He apparently wanted Liz Cheney shot by firing squad. And he personally declared that Puerto Rico was garbage. The battle was set. And so it came to election day. The hordes of Mordor besieged the gates of Minas Tirith. Everyone said this is a tight race. Iowa was meant to be going for Harris. Florida was apparently in play. America was under siege with no hope of escape. But then, as the sun rose up, over the crest of the hill appeared Donald Trump and his army. Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, and 10,000 upon 10,000 anonymous, likely autistic meme creators appeared on the horizon. Riding before them, sword raised, magnificent golden locks blowing in the wind, Trump gave up the battle shout. Arise, arise, riders of MAGA, fell deeds awake, fire and slaughter. Spear shall be shaken, shield be splintered, a sword day, a red day, red for Republican, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride to the swing states, ride for ruin and the world's ending. The armies of Mordor formed ranks to face them, saying they would hold strong, saying they would take Pennsylvania, saying that they would get Georgia, saying that Trump could not break the blue wall, saying that he would not sweep the Sun Belt, saying it's fine, it's totally fine, it's going to be okay, honestly. But on the MAGA army charged in that pointy formation you see in the movie. With Trump at the helm, first of all was Florida, counted in record time. Once a swing state, now deep red. Some charging memers got nervous whenever the early results from Dallas and Austin, Texas came in, thinking they might lose that entire state. But oh no, never mind. On the army marched. And then the Mordor hordes began to give way. North Carolina looked strong. Virginia was suddenly close. New Jersey was close. Pennsylvania did not have the Democratic turnout expected.
Why isn't Philadelphia counting votes? Call them. Do we have
Arizona was leading strong red. Then it started to come in. Michigan was going to Trump. Wisconsin was going to Trump. It could not be stopped. The New York Times needle went from toss-up to leaning Trump to up and up and up. 60%, 70%, 80%. $312 electoral college votes, the popular vote. And as Tolkien sort of says, all the host of MAGA burst into song, and they sang as they slew, for the joy of battle was upon them.
It is the duty of the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ .06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.
In modern fitness culture, temporary aesthetic beauty often comes at the expense of the body, soul, and true long-term vitality. At Mount Athos Performance, we believe in more than just looking good. We're on a mission to fuel a holistic lifestyle of health. A lifestyle that prepares you for every moment, from work to recreation. Built on purity, sustainability, and the pursuit of excellence, our products support functional fitness for everyday resilience and longevity. Welcome to Mount Athos Performance.
Still playing the song.
Oh, I'm still playing it. I might be playing this for a whole 3 years, maybe 4.
Maybe into that Iowa party.
Maybe.
You know? Hey, all, welcome to CrossPolitic on the Fight Lab Feast Network. It's good to be with you. Of course, Pastor Toby Talk Knox, I'm the Water Boy. And our Pope, Uri Brito.
Whoa.
No, he's definitely an archbishop. Archbishop.
Pastor of Providence.
Pastor of Providence Church.
In Pensacola.
Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again.
Good to be here with you guys, man.
Yeah.
Using a smartphone or computer opens the door to a host of digital temptations in a world saturated with pornography and other harmful content. What's a Christian to do? We need to take a proactive approach, welcoming transparency in our digital media choices and accountable to you. That's the word accountable. The number 2, the word you, makes that easy. Their accountability software shares detailed activity reports from all your devices and your kids' devices in real time to the accountability partners that you choose. With accountability in place, your family can effectively guard against temptations online and live with purity and integrity. So learn more today. Try it for free at Accountable to You. Again, that's the word accountable, the number 2, the word you.com/FLF. Tell them we sent you. Our friends,
they paid for our church leadership luncheon
did they?
at the conference. Super nice. Bless like 80 church leaders.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, really nice.
Our friends at Backwards Planning Financial, Joe, are giving away 1 custom engraved Mont Blanc. Am I saying that right?
Joe will tell you. Joe will tell you. Don't worry. Say it how you think and find out.
Mont Blanc pen.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's kind of expensive.
Very expensive. Very expensive. See, Joe, I learned.
To a loyal Pub TV subscriber at the end of the year, they're going to give this very, very, very expensive pen away at the end of the year. And they're drawing 1 name at random twice each month from our club members to be entered to win. This month's entry is Howard Goebel. Howard, you don't need to do anything. You are entered into the drawing for the end of the year to get that fancy, mucho expensive pen in December. So listen in December, see if you're the winner. And if you want to be added, you want to even be part of the drawing, you just have to become a Pub TV member. And Howard, thanks for being a loyal supporter of Fight Laugh Feast Network. Dr. Reverend Holy Bishop Uri Brito.
I'm not calling
his
you.
bio.
What it says. I just read whatever it says.
Bishop.
Bishop.
Wow.
Sweet fancy Bishop is the senior minister at Providence Church in Pensacola, Florida since 2009. He serves on the boards of both the Theopolis Institute and New St. Andrews College. He and I both are on that board together. In fact, we just finished a board meeting today.
That's why y'all look tired?
That's why we look tired.
Work.
He's also senior fellow for pastoral theology for the Center of Cultural Leadership. He was elected last year to a 3-year term as the presiding minister of council for the CREC, the Community Reformed Evangelical Churches. He blogs at uribrito.com and Kyperian.com. He's married to his lovely wife, Melinda, for 21 years. 21?
21 years.
21 years. Wow. And your marriage can drink.
I'm grateful.
And he is the father of Abigail, Ezekiel, Ephraim, Elijah, and Ezra. I think there's a little bit of a pattern going on.
Esther, Joe.
Uri, thanks for coming back.
Hey, man, great to be back within the great metropolis of Moscow, Idaho.
Metropolis, yeah.
Hey, Abby came to the conference.
She did. She was enamored by everything. She had a chance to meet the great tribe of Logos students, which one was phenomenal. There was what a massive crowd.
Logos Online?
Logos Online.
They were a game.
Stage it.
Yes,
They got up the stage, yeah.
They got their pictures done together.
And then I had the homeschoolers come up and say, "Hey, will you do that for us next conference?" And I was like, "Sure."
They cornered me. Listen, tell Gabe we want to take a picture or deal with us.
I'm like,
Logos.
She's a junior Logos, yeah.
Okay. That's
Wow.
great. That's exciting.
So
the election just happened, obviously.
yeah, this is. I was thinking this is like a post-game show.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah, Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon. That's true. It is Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon quarterbacking.
You know, about 3 weeks before the election, about 3 weeks, I started kind of just getting the sense, I think Trump's got this running away. But then election night happens, and I just keep waiting.
Oh, yeah.
And waiting for Wisconsin to stop counting its vote.
Well, I mean,
and for Pennsylvania to stop counting its vote.
Right.
And it didn't happen. Grateful for that.
Uri, what were you thinking that night? I'm curious. On Tuesday night.
That night, within an hour, I was listening to a variation of the different shows, CNN, MSNBC, following closely the Tracker, New York Times, but really focusing on the Daily Wire broadcast, which I thought was just phenomenal there.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're right within
Of course, ours was the best one, but that's
absolutely.
Okay.
Listen,
That's
that
right.
was playing in the background. That's my background music.
Daily Wire, distant second.
Don't forget you're a holy one now. So.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think within an hour of the closing of the polls, I felt fairly optimistic.
Yeah.
That there was there was a wave taking place, and I was just I was intrigued by the optimism of the left, and I think the left has they embody a kind of eschatology that is eternally hopeful, but the reality is eternally pessimistic. But they still try to hold themselves up straight. But as the evening unfolded, you could see their posture, their demeanor, their vocabulary, their lexicon sort of decreasing in intensity, and all the sophistication ended up becoming just trivialities by the end. And then, of course, the next day you begin to see the blame shifting.
Yeah.
The scapegoating, the Girarding and stuff happening.
And we actually got a couple of videos, or one video on that we'll probably get to here in a minute. What was amazing was apparently Elon Musk knew 4 hours before everyone else knew, because he had designed like some sort of play the Joe Rogan clip. Get it there.
Apparently, Elon created an app, and he knew who won 4 hours before the results. So as the results were coming in, 4 hours before they called it, Dana White told me Elon was like, "I'm leaving. It's over. Donald won."
There you go.
Wow.
That's
Well, I want to do a little more research on that. They don't go into any detail
How
on
do you
it.
create an app?
Yeah, I don't know.
That seems
but that's how do you do anything that he's been doing? How do you take a rocket that's over 250 tons and make this little thing that catches? Yeah, and parallel parking with these little. How do you do Starlink when you got all these satellites everywhere? How do you get to Mars?
If you could parallel park
rocket, you can figure out the election.
Yeah.
But that's encouraging to know that somebody like him is potentially going to be in Trump's cabinet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that. Also,
And eating away at bureaucracy. That's going to be his job. That's making government more efficient.
Yeah, and I think that's just an example, and I think that's a short example, but I think that's an example of kind of the reality of the old covenant, new covenant realities I've always talked about. Where
you've always talked about?
Yeah, I've been talking about this for the whole year.
What is that?
The fact that old school media is kind of like in production, it's like the old covenant. It's passing away. And there's this. And people,
I was like,
you're
old
what?
covenant, new covenant?
It's good because some people probably haven't heard it.
Wineskin news.
Pastor Uri, basically, the new technology, new medium, branding, marketing has a new way of thinking.
Yeah, if I can just add to what you said, I think that what you find is that what happened a couple of days ago is the end of the era of expertise. And it was sealed by the final defeat of American polling systems. It began with the defeat of the scientific dogma of during COVID. And now we're finding the professionals and the algorithms of society to have also reached their death, to which now what we do now is we enter into a new era of parallel economies, parallel polling, and behold, the priest Elon rises.
Joe Rogan's are like the new media.
Absolutely.
New media, Elon Musk, new media, new technology.
It's a new world, as David says.
Which gives us a whole new reality about how to operate in it, and I think it changes the hierarchical structure.
Yeah.
And this is what Elon's trying to do. I think he knows you win like this. Is so free speech now allows anybody who has something really important or good to say, regardless of their followers, regardless of how many people are engaged with them, to actually get out there and affect change.
Just as a little example of this, maybe some of you saw, but Joel Salatin, this lunatic farmer, is his that's not me, that's him. He calls himself that. Yeah. He's really into pigs. But he Canon Plus is actually making a documentary about him right now. I don't think it's quite out yet, but he released a statement that he's been asked and accepted a position in an advisory council in the USDA.
Yeah. Right.
And
there's 6 spots, and he accepted one.
Yeah, and then in that statement, he said, "My friend Thomas Massey, Congressman Thomas Massey, has been approached, or people are talking to him about maybe serving in the for like Department of Ag."
Yeah. Please, Secretary of Ag all day for Massey.
But my point about what you're saying is, so I shared Cannon Plus's thing, and I said, but wait, it gets better. Maybe Thomas Massey serving in the Department of Agriculture, and like 3 hours later, Thomas Massey liked it.
Yeah.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So nice. So like, I don't like.
That's amazing.
Like I follow him, he doesn't follow me.
Yeah.
But like, here's an example of anybody.
But he saw it.
Can speak into the microphone.
Yeah.
This is absolutely right. This is the age of accessibility.
Yeah.
That's what politics is. It's accessibility and proximity to the inner sanctum. And now the church is having that access that she would never have had under another administration.
You speaking of that, actually, as representative of the CREC, you put out a statement.
Yeah.
And just yesterday.
Yes.
Right? Did you guys see this?
I have not read the statement.
CREC statement.
I did see what's going around.
He's adopting David French's curriculum. No.
I'm out. I'm out.
It says, from the office of the High Archbishop. No, it doesn't say that. Presiding minister says, the CREC rejoices in the victory of Donald J. Trump as our 47th president. We believe his victory will provide great consolation to our congregations in the United States. While we have a voice in the White House who will not persecute or entangle our churches in political and social turmoil, we believe that the church is fundamentally responsible for pursuing righteousness as ambassadors of hope in this world. Therefore, we urge CREC congregations and other Bible-believing traditions to rejoice in God's kind providence, worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness, and continue to labor for the good of the city in word and deed. We exhort local churches to pray for our leaders and boldly call our nation to repentance by exhorting the civil magistrates to submit to the Lord Jesus Christ. Reverend Dr. Uri Brito.
So, Doc, I got to ask then, what do you think? There's a lot of questions I have now, but what do you think that his victory does for churches?
What Donald Trump's victory does for churches is it allows us a certain sabbatical. Think of a sabbatical. Think of Joseph finding refuge and building up stamina and wealth and riches for seasons of famines in the future. We don't know what the future holds, but what Trump does is it allows us to take comfort in our particular tasks so that we're not being distracted by other things and we can focus exclusively on what God has called us to do. And that could be a reference of many, many things. It could be church planting, but it can also be building a kind of liturgical muscles that we typically lose when we're highly distracted in societal chaos, which we've seen the last 4 years. We've seen the church has been fairly distracted and incapable of keeping themselves en route towards their proper task. But now what we have is 4 years, which is just a wonderful, I think, biblical symbol overall. 4 years to think carefully and to define who our enemies are and to build coalitions that we wouldn't have the opportunity to do so prior.
So go ahead.
Joseph 7 years of plenty is
yes.
One picture. The other thing, George Grant at the Fight Life East conference said that Trump is a tourniquet.
Yeah,
Stop the bleeding.
Good.
I like that.
Stop the bleeding. And so this is a moment to build, and build for build for an era where, because right now it's like, again, maybe change the image again, Nehemiah on the city walls. And the enemies. Maybe this is a moment where we can build more and have to do less defending.
Yeah,
but we got to build.
So I have some ideas. I think what some building looks like, but just particularly thinking about churches right now. You hear everybody talking about, okay, guys, let's build. Let's build as much as we can. What does building look like for churches? Like, what are some specific things that churches need to do right now? So building coalitions with other churches, that's huge. Maybe get out of the denomination where you have an ERLC and get into a CREC. That might be one of the things. But what are some things that you say, look, your church really needs to focus on this right now? Because I don't think we have 4 years. I don't think we have 4 years. I think we have 2.
Right.
I think we really have 2 years.
Right.
Are you marking that off with the next
midterms?
Midterms. Because here's what I'm noticing. This is something I haven't noticed. Some of the leftist liberals who weren't really with the far side are figuring it out really early. They're like, Yeah, we messed up. We should have acknowledged the podcasts were a thing.
We should have gone on Joe Rogan.
We should have gone on Joe Rogan.
Right.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have put our pronouns inside of our emails. And I'm like, whoa, this is quick. He ain't even here.
Right.
Yeah.
We haven't even reached December and they're figuring it out.
I got a clip if you want to see.
Oh, I do.
Talking about
Yes.
that. So Legacy Media's. This clip's about Legacy Media talking about how they aren't as big as they think they are, and I don't know if this is the roundtable clip.
This is what I mean. Go ahead.
So how do Democrats need to change the way they communicate to voters if you think that's part of the problem?
For sure. I mean, I think all of us have to come to grips with legacy media is just not as important as it thinks it is.
Boom.
It is to you. It is to me. That's a relatively small group of people who rely on us for their information. And you have to go into the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. And basically the way people get information is shattered into 20, 30 different pieces. And so if you just look empirically at the numbers, Joe Rogan's more important than any of us. He just has a much bigger, hyper-connected audience that listens to his every word. So maybe listen to Joe Rogan and kind of understand, like, what is he talking about? What are the guests that he has on? What are the issues that they care about? Realize that the gravity of right-wing discourse is now taking place on X. It's not Fox. X is what matters. Elon Musk is now, I wrote about this yesterday, arguably the most powerful civilian in the history of the country. He controls information flow. He controls multiple businesses. He has the president's ear. He's going to be in charge of some newfangled organization to gut government spending. We've not seen a person with that kind of clout across those sectors. 100%. But where his real power comes from is X. People thought he was an idiot when he bought X because he lost a lot of money. He's got a lot of money. And now he happens to have the most powerful platform on the right. And politics is downstream from information.
In the world.
And there's just a whole new information ecosystem out there. So for us, for you, for Democrats, for Republicans, you have to understand that you now are going to have to basically navigate 20 or 30 different parts of the ecosystem if you want to connect with the American people who vote.
So there's variation of a lot of these clips out there
But this is my point.
Yes, I hear that. That's interesting.
They are figuring this out too soon for me.
Yeah.
Which means we have to get busy faster than they're figuring it out because what they're going to do, and this is so important. Let me just go here for a second. When people who have large bags figure things out, they buy up the people who are doing effective work.
Yeah.
So they might not be there and you're like, yeah, we got mics here, we're doing it. And all of a sudden somebody sneaks in to call her daddy and gives them 10 million.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Somebody buys up all the when they figure it out, it's like, oh, they have to start a podcast now and get a base. No, they don't. They can buy one. But they would have bought them all if they could have, if they thought they were actually effective, but they didn't.
Well,
which means
they bought 200, 300, 400 radio stations before the election. George Soros.
And so you got to remember, Elon Musk buys X, and he just said it. We all laughed him. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
And now they're like, okay, what platforms do we need to buy? And then they lost Zuck, but Zuck doesn't run, Meta anymore. Really, he's just kind of there, and he's trying to figure his own way out. He's like, Elon, you got a couple more than 44 billion.
Right.
But so as they're figuring it out and they're getting there faster, we don't have the time frame we think we do. I think it's whittled down. What are some practical things that you think the churches probably should focus on in this next 2 years?
Well, I think, maybe I can summarize by saying something. We have 2 years to determine whether we have 4. And so, which means that we need to sort of we need to align our vision together, and perhaps the left will align. But I don't want to fall, however, in the kind of trap that says, let's not rejoice at all. This is
not at all.
Understand. We all agree with
this is a huge victory.
This is a great opportunity to rejoice.
We're going to be all right.
I'm rejoicing.
And to delight in these things. So this is where I think we need to sort of get rid of the dross. There is dross on the right, and we need to get rid of keep using this language here, the distracting elements that keep us from aligning ourselves and realigning our coalition into the kinds of things that will be eventually, hopefully, indestructible in the long term. This is our opportunity. We may get both houses. We have the presidency. We may have, Donald Trump has the opportunity to put 4,000 people into positions of leadership. This is remarkable. We have Governor DeSantis in Florida. He's got 2 more years, but I think he's been iconic, in many ways symbolic of the revolution and the revival taking place nationally. Florida has taken that, and you saw that. Florida, within 2.5 hours, we had all our votes in.
Yeah,
for real.
We had everything
Arizona,
in place.
Nevada still ticking away.
Yeah,
I know.
California, are they still counting?
Who cares? California.
Well, and I think, and the lesson in some ways is that those who are aligned are more orderly. Those who are not aligned are disorderly, and they thrive in disorder. And so I think the church now needs to realize what are the issues we should not be focusing on, and determining what's really to focus on. And that requires us to have a target on who our enemies are. Ephesians 6 says, with their principalities and powers, the devil knows who his enemies are, and it appears that evangelical Christians have a very hard time determining who their enemies are. But now those lines are being drawn. We know who they are, and therefore forming our own sort of our cultural homes, taking care of our economies, both in the home and in the church. These are the beginnings, the principal things that need to be reoriented so that we can focus exclusively who our enemies are.
I'm going to read these ads, and then I've got a follow-up question. Are you looking to give your child a well-rounded education while also ensuring positive socialization opportunities and their ability to succeed in life? I don't know about positive socialization, but led by a trained licensed director, families learn through classical conversations. Robert Borton's, come on now. Christ-centered curriculum. I love classical conversations. Christ-centered curriculum together in a community with locations in all 50 states and over 50 countries. There is bound to be a community near you. classicalconversations.com/FLF. That's classicalconversations.com/FLF. And I want to tell you about one more thing. My friend David Young has helped start Keyport CREC Church Plant. That's their name right now. They don't really have a name. Keyport CREC Church Plant. This is what they're calling it. Keyport, I just looked it up. It's in New Jersey, just south of New York City, like right.
They need it out there in Jersey. Let's go, Jersey.
So we got anybody out there from Jersey, from New York? So there's a new CREC church plant in Keyport, New Jersey. They're meeting on Sundays at 5 p.m. So you could go to your regular church and go check them out in the evening. And currently they have about 8 households meeting for worship. They've been meeting for over a year. Their worship is covenant renewal and liturgical, weekly communion with kids sitting at the table. I like that. That's really great.
God. With kids sitting at the table. How about that?
Just like,
do they got a jumping castle?
Not at the table.
Not at the table, Gabe. But it's a big pillar of their fellowship. Reach out for more information at jerseycrec@gmail.com. jerseycrec@gmail.com. Or you can call David on his cell. He's giving it out.
Doing it.
I mean, he doesn't care. He's cool. 425-350-7203. That's David. 425-350-7203. Check out that New Jersey CRC
request. I just found you was a pastor and your number popped up. Got this thing on my neck, see? Gonna need you to pray for that right there.
I never got that phone call.
It's Jersey. It's different. It's different.
So I gotta go in just a minute, but I thought I would just, I don't know if you really want to, how much.
Well, Yuri's going to go to church.
He's going to go
to the football game.
We're going to go to the football game together. So
we're just going to wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up. But I just want to close with, I guess, hear from each of you. I've got a thought on this, and then maybe just hear from each of you. So, it's basically a repetition of your question. What do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do with this time?
Yep.
God has given us this time. God has given us this moment. What do we do? And the thing that I keep thinking is, we don't know what's coming next. We don't, we don't even know, like, could there be a COVID 2.0? Could there be, something else that even sort of surprise? I mean, I wouldn't put it past the principalities and powers to try to sabotage, this moment, which is what happened with the first Trump term. But we have an opening. There's some clear ground right now for us to run, and my thought is this is the moment to build. Yeah. And the three things I'm thinking of right now is, and this is lines up with what you're talking about, Uri, but church health, and the center of that is worship. And I think we have to recognize that worship is the central, it's the tip of the spear. We've got to be thinking in terms of when God sent his people into the land, he sent the priests blowing trumpets and the Ark of the Covenant to circle Jericho.
Right.
We got to be thinking like Jehoshaphat. God sends the choir out first and sets ambushes for the people. When Abraham was promised the land, he built altars. And in some of the very places where he built altars during the conquest 400 years later, God set ambushes for the enemies of his people. I think we need to be thinking in terms of biblical worship, learn the Psalms, and this is maybe this is what you meant, Uri, but like building liturgical muscles.
Right.
Like you need to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be strong. So when they come for COVID 2.0 and they arrest you and throw you in jail, do you have the Psalms in your heart and in your soul? Are you ready to sing those songs? Like you need that in your soul. You need that in your children's soul. Are you training up your kids in the faith? And that's the second thing would be families, strong families.
Yeah.
We've got to be you've got to be in fellowship with your wife.
Yeah.
You've got to be in fellowship with your husband. You've got to have a well-oiled machine of fellowship and joy around your dinner table, where you are not being hindered by constant complaining and fussiness and bitterness and resentment. And then the third thing I'm thinking of is Christian businesses. I think, and then flowing out of that would be get involved in your local civics.
Right.
Get involved in the city council, get involved in county commissions, and some of you maybe even, I know we have friends that have connections in the Trump administration.
Yep.
100%.
There are people who listen to this show, who follow this, who are going to be involved in the Trump administration. There are people who are going to be involved in their state politics. There's going to be people who are going to be involved in their city politics. But I think worship on the Lord's Day, family culture, and then build businesses, resilient businesses that are ready to build and fight. And one last thing I want to say, and then I'm happy to hear from you guys. I just want to say, we need to do this regardless of what Trump does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Regardless of what happens in Washington, D.C.
if he does nothing.
If he does good things or bad things.
Like if he does absolutely
nothing.
nothing, that would still be a reprieve.
Yeah.
He's not going to be attacking us like a Kamala administration would have been coming after us. Lord willing. I think but you need to build.
Yeah.
Build.
So a couple things there. One is you pretty much said everything. You got all the categories. Church, family, business.
I know. No, I'm kidding.
But there's some real reality in where the church is missing it nationally. So one of the things we've said multiple times on the show, there's more of us than there are of the leftists. There really is.
Yeah.
And they're leftists. The 10 are chasing 1,000, which is us. And so I think these next 2-4 years, we've really got to go after and wake up our people nationwide. I mean, you look at the maps are red. And there's no state that is liberal. There's cities that are liberal, but there's really no state that's liberal.
Right.
So if you just look at I-5 corridor, if I was looking at a more detailed map here that I have on my screen here, that I-5 corridor is a high freeway that goes all the way down. That's what's blue. Everything else is red in California. Everything else is red in Oregon. Everything else, so really nationwide, we're red.
Right.
But because for conservative sins, which is usually like some sort of apathy or some sort of cowardiceness, that kind of thing, we've disconnected from engaging. And that's come from the church. The church has told them for 40 years that, hey, your faith doesn't apply to politics.
Right.
And so we need revival. I want flyover country. When we started the show in 2016, we've talked about this a number of times in our business meetings. We want flyover country. That's who we want going after, because they're the people who need to be discipled and woken up.
Right.
So
this is ours for the taking. I mean, given the number of Christian churches, the number of churches that profess the lordship of Jesus Christ, if we actually believed it, if we actually obeyed it,
and applied it to the public square, the Democrats would never be in control of our country again. Yeah. And it would be likely, it wouldn't just be Republicans in control of our country, it'd be Christians.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I was coming from the Newer Theater, listening to our good friend Sierra Wiley doing a talk there.
Yes.
And as I was walking, he's
been sitting right there.
He's fabulous. As I was walking over here, I saw a bunch of hippies there in front of Sword and Shovel with, stop the genocide,
which is Trump's
anti-Israel protest, and they all look like a bad Willie Nelson day. And Willie Nelson only has bad days, so they looked horrendous. But they also look like drunkards, which is sort of a biblical imagery to sort of express what evil looks like. It's drunk and it lacks sobriety. And so if that is a symbol for the current left regime, they're drunk and they lack sobriety, they lack lucidity. This is the time for Christians who perhaps have been drunk for a long time as well to sober up.
Or at least asleep.
Exactly. To sober up and realize that their voices matter. And as I said before at many occasions, every church is a reflection of their pastor. Every people is a reflection of the priesthood that guides them and leads them. And that means, for everybody who's listening to the show here, that pastors need to enhance, to put their microphones really close and speak up boldly, because when they speak boldly, people listen. The level of timidity that has overwhelmed the evangelical church has caused our voices to be silenced. And now here's our opportunity, as the left is drunk after what happened, to speak boldly and truthfully.
Our friend Jared Longshore here said something really wonderful this week. We were talking in a meeting about how bold pastors need to be. How COVID was good for a lot of our churches. Yeah. COVID was very good for a lot of our churches in that it shook, and then a number of pastors stood up. They were bold, and then it caused the right kind of sort of tension and friction on elder boards. But I know in some places there were some really hard cases, but there were a lot of places where like the pastor stood up and said, "No, we got to worship," and elders responded. And then churches came together and rallied, and it was a really good thing. And Jared said, and so that was good and wonderful. Yeah. But in Moscow, our pastors do that every few weeks. And I thought, oh, that's a good reminder. I'm supposed to be doing that every week. But that's what it says. It says that the voice of the Lord shakes the earth. Yeah. Psalm 93 says that when the voice of the Lord comes, it thunders on the earth, and the mountain goats give birth. That's what the voice of the Lord is supposed to do. And it says, and when they all gather in his temple, they cry holy. Yeah. So, like the center of the voice of the Lord shaking the world. And this is Hebrews 12 as well.
Causes people to cry out.
He speaks from heaven. He speaks from heaven now, and he's shaking everything that can be shaken. Yeah. And the ministers of the gospel are the ones called to shake the earth with the word of God, Genesis to Revelation, all of Christ for all of life. And it should be the kind of thing, though, that shakes everything and says, we got to obey God. Right. We got to throw down these idols. We got to repent of our sins.
That's good stuff.
You weren't going to answer?
Huh? What? I thought you were going. I was like, you're wrapping it up. I want
to hear from you.
So there's a lot to say. I probably can do 45 minutes on this nonstop because I think it's so important.
I know.
The most powerful civilian decided to buy. First of all, let me just say this: everything everybody said, those are first and most important marching orders. Yeah, I agree with that. First and foremost. Yeah. But the most powerful civilian decided to buy X. And he bought it because he thought freedom of speech was important, which means he thought the people were important to be able to have their ability to communicate. And he thought that would be like the way that we get out of this. He was right. So communicate.
Right.
Stop thinking that you can't be heard. Stop thinking that your mundane tasks that you do aren't important.
Right.
Make the cookies, take them to your neighbor, talk to them. Create your own show about I don't care if the soap that you like and why you like it. Learn to communicate to people and be winsome, because we have a whole bunch of people that don't really agree with us, but don't like the other side and have left that and have joined us. Yeah. And we have
Joe Rogan's on our team.
We have a lot of discipling to do.
Yeah. Right.
And sometimes the best way to disciple people is to let them know that God made the world to be used in this way.
Yeah. Right.
Show them how God made the world to be used and the joy that comes from that. Right. That's one huge way. And so everybody has an opportunity to have a mic that goes viral.
That's right.
And so over the next 2 years, we need to be some of the loudest, joyful people about how God's world works everywhere, on every platform. Right. God's opened up the roads for us to communicate. These are the new Roman roads.
That's right. Yep.
Get to using them.
Well, to Toby's point, Elon is just working hard, using his businesses to change America.
Yeah.
Right.
What are you doing?
That's the same thing.
Yeah. And we are in fellowship with the one who runs it all.
That's right.
We know the one who runs it all.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, you go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic.